Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the paper talk. You know what to do. We're live. We're in the studio. Yes, it's a Saturday, but we're here and we're live because that's just how we roll. Get involved in the comment and the chats. We're going to be chatting about, well, you know what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about match of the day. It's all popping off, innit? It's all happening with the news that Gary Lineker won't be hosting match of the day. In fact, it looks like no one's going to be hosting match of the day. So we'll get into all that. We'll also have some Manchester United transfer news as well. So make sure you are getting involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about it. Laurie Chilton says sack Lineker. Peter Jurich says let the real fans host the show. Chelsea Taylor says hello. Shogun says RIP. Match of the day. This has sort of evolved, changed, sort of moved forward so quickly. So I'm going to get into it and going to sort of explain what's the latest sort of how it's all started, what's gone on, and where we're at now. I think that that would probably be the best way to go about it. So this all started when a few days ago, when the government announced this new policy on immigration and refugees and the boats, people coming over in boats, what they were going to do, and some of the language that was used. Gary Lineker, in response to a tweet, he compared it to the language used in 1930s Germany. Now, we know what that means, like the Nazis, basically. In 1930s, they were using certain terms and phrases that Lineker compared to the terms and the phrases being used and the language being used now by the Tories when it came to the migration bill and, you know, refugees coming over and stuff like that. So there was a bit of blowback, as you'd expect, from the Tories and some of the right-wing press as well. People say, you know, he shouldn't have made that comparison because he's the presenter of the match of the day. He shouldn't be allowed to make political statements and political views. There was calls for him to be sacked. Now, this went on for a couple of days, and I thought it was actually blowing over. I thought we were getting to any sort of news story has a sort of 2 or 3 day cycle. And I thought it'd been going for about 2.5 days, and I thought it's beginning to subside a little bit. And then just as you thought it was beginning to subside, the BBC put out a statement saying that Gary Lineker was stepping back from his role on Match of the Day, which was a bit like, right, okay. Then there was leaks or reports that he wasn't stepping back. He'd been told he had to step back. He'd been sacked, basically, or took off the show. So there's a difference there to someone saying, well, I'm going to take a step back, to being told you're not going on air. So then following that, you had the likes of Ian Wright and Alan Shearer saying they won't go on Match of the Day, saying they're standing with him. Solidarity. Ian Wright put out a tweet. Alan Shearer followed suit. Then you had others like Micah Richards and Jermaine Jenner saying, I haven't been asked, but if I am, I won't do it. I won't go on that show. Then you had, I think today, we've had Alex Scott, I think, has put out a tweet about Football Focus is getting taken off because she's not going to present that, and there's a bit of a, you know, there's problems around who is. Then last night, after the presenters had said we're not going to present the show, or we're not going to stand in for him, then you had, I think the commentators said they wouldn't commentate on it because at one point, Match of the Day said, or the BBC said, Match of the Day won't have any punditry. It'll just be the highlights. So you'll have the highlights and the commentary. And then the commentators were saying, well, we're not going to do any commentary. Right, okay. Then today, this morning, there's been reports that players and managers aren't going to talk to the BBC, so you're not going to have the post-match interviews. So you've got that issue as well. I mean, it's just sort of spiraled to the point where I'm struggling to see how Match of the Day is going to go out tonight. I don't know if there's any, I don't think there's been an update saying it won't, but it does feel like without commentators, without players speaking to you, without presenters, I mean, what is it? It's going to be just a shell of a programme. I mean, they might be able to get around it. I think they can still have some sort of commentary and they can still show highlights. Obviously, they've got the rights, but it is going to seem a little bit strange, and it's going to be absolutely nothing like the normal Match of the Day. Also, you've already got Football Focus is going out as well. Now, in terms of what Lineker did here, let me go sort of start at the beginning. There will be some people who think he shouldn't have said what he said, right? You know, to compare some of the language used to the 1930s, the Nazis, for some people maybe a little bit OTT. And listen, I understand sometimes we get a little bit giddy when we compare things to the Nazis. We've seen it so many times, haven't we? Like, oh, they're asking us to take a vaccine. It's like Nazi Germany. Oh, there's traffic wardens in Weast. It's like Nazi Germany. It's not. And like sometimes people compare things to Nazi Germany a bit too quickly. But Lineker's not the only one who's done this with some of the language used. There was a Holocaust survivor who challenged Suella Braverman about the language being used, saying she'd fled the Nazis and she said the language was the same. I've seen a professor of German history saying Lineker's got a point. But the issue is, whether you agree with Lineker or not, he's allowed to say what he wants to say on his own Twitter. I don't agree with Gary Lineker when it came to his tweets defending Ed Woodward. I didn't. I thought he was wrong. He was praising Ed Woodward. But I think he's got a right to say that. I don't think he should be stopped from saying what he believes. And I don't think he should be taken off Match of the Day because he said something that some people may not agree with. And I think this has been a massive campaign by the Tories. You know me, I don't like to get political, but it's obviously been a campaign by the Tories to try and get him sacked, to try and get him removed from Match of the Day. And it has backfired massively. And also, there's no consistency here, right? Alan Call Me Lord Sugar has tweeted so many political things. Don't vote for Labour. Comparing pictures of Jeremy Corbyn sat next to Hitler. He tweeted that. Don't even get me started on the racist drivel he's tweeted, like comparing the Senegalese players to Lucky Men and other drivel. He still presents The Apprentice. He wasn't taken off that. And he's done far more worse things than, in my opinion anyway, Gary Lineker's ever done on Twitter. But he kept his job. Now, where's the consistency? What's the policy? Is it when it's Gary Lineker he can't, and when it's Alan Sugar it's fine? That's what I mean. It doesn't seem right. Gary Lineker's a freelancer, so he's not a BBC employee. I've done freelance shifts at the BBC. I'm not comparing myself to Gary Lineker, but I was presenting on the BBC this week. I was on Talking Balls. I tweet all sorts of nonsense. Now, again, I'm not as you know, obviously well known or as big as Gary Lineker. I didn't present anything of the magnitude of Match Today. But I'm allowed to do what I want as a freelancer, so why it's not he? If it's one rule for him, it should be one rule for us all. It should be the same rules, should it not? It does seem a little bit strange, the way they've gone after him and the way they've sort of said that he's not really broke the rules, but they're going to talk to him about the rules. So it's almost like saying, okay, he was allowed to do what he's done, but we're not happy about it, so we're going to talk to him about it. He's not apologising. This is a big thing as well. He's not saying sorry. If he came out and said, oh, right, I'm sorry, then maybe they would have kept him on Match of the Day. He's not willing to do that, and I think more power to him. I think if he believes that, he's right to say it. I personally think he's got a point. But, if you know, even whether you don't, sometimes he's done tweets I don't agree with, I think he is allowed to share his views. As long as he's not, you know, being overtly homophobic or racist or whatever, or doxing someone, as long as he's not breaking the law, then he should be able to air his views. And he's like, you know, has been pointed out by many, many people, he's not sat on Match of the Day going, here's what I think about the Tories, or here's what I think about the government policy. He's doing it on his own Twitter account. He's allowed to do that. This has just escalated massively, and it's become a proper shambles. Everyone's boycotting the BBC. Glenn Murray is boycotting the BBC. Others, right, you may laugh. I was asked to go on Match of the Day too, as a fan, not just any presenting or anything like that. I'm not like, you know, getting delusions of grandeur, but with some other fans and do some stuff on Match of the Day too. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sort of get involved in this when I feel like they're being unfair. And, you know, I think that whether you like Gary Lineker or not, it's his right to say what he wants to say about something and call things out that he thinks are a certain way. So I'm actually pleased that people are saying they're not going to present. People are saying they're standing with him, because I think it's the right thing to do. And I think this is another example, for me, of the Tories getting it wrong when it comes to football. Whenever they wade into football issues, no matter, you might go, this isn't really football. It is. Gary Lineker's on the Match of the Day. It's a football show. He's on it because he was one of England's best ever strikers. Of course it's football related. Now, do you remember when they did this with Marcus Rashford? Matt Hancock, in his infinite wisdom, before he was eating bugs in the jungle and selling books that no one wanted to read, he was the health secretary, and he called out Premier League footballers, didn't he? He said Premier League footballers have got to do their bit. Didn't go after bankers or hedge fund managers. He went after Premier League footballers. Why? I wonder. So what did Marcus Rashford do? He said, all right then, I'm going to feed loads of kids. I'll feed millions of kids. I was about that. Why don't we give them free school dinners, you know, past whenever it was, into the summer or whatever it was. And the government were like, oh God, no, no, we don't want to do that. So Marcus went, all right, sound, I'll do it myself. So he took to Twitter and he mobilised the country. And you had supermarkets, councils, individuals, charities helping. And the government in the end had to go, right, we've dropped a rick here. We'll have to do a U-turn. They did 2 U-turns because of Marcus Rashford. Do you remember that? And it's the same thing now. They've gone after Lineker. They've helped to get him taken off the show. And the backlash has been massive. And I just think it's not done them any favours. All it shows is they're just out of touch. This could have blown over. This could have been almost irrelevant. Yeah, it's not, for me, it's not that deep. It really isn't. It could have been like, I didn't agree with that, or, we're not really happy with that, but whatever. And let's not forget as well, all this has done as well is shone a light, on some of the other things we've seen in this government. You've got people like the BBC director who used to work for Theresa May, who was trying to block political appointments, presenter appointments or editorial appointments at the BBC. So that's come to light now, or not come to light, but that's been discussed. I saw other people raising the fact that you've got one of the, is it Sharp, one of the leaders of the BBC, help facilitate a loan for Boris Johnson. So it's just showing that this is sort of being politically motivated, and the BBC has got bigger issues than Gary Neville's Twitter when it comes to staying out of politics. It's just a mess. And I just think that, life is tough enough for so many people. Right? It is. Everything's got to, being a struggle, cost of living, the way that, wages and stuff. And you just want to go and watch your football and watch Match of the Day and not have any dramas. And I think that this is just, the government have just made a massive mistake here. And I think the BBC have made a massive mistake, really, because it's ultimately their decision. And they've let the government's influence get to them. And maybe some of the right-wing press as well get to them. And this is what makes me laugh as well, because you've got all this thing about all the right-wing press who are sort of champions and bastions of free speech. But when it doesn't suit them, or it's just free speech of something they don't agree with, then they go after it, and cancel culture kicks in. And I don't agree with it. I just don't agree with it. Fergal McClement says, this looks bad for the BBC, but it has worked an absolute treat for the Tories, because now everyone focuses on Match of the Day and not the reason for the tweet in the first place. Yeah. So I don't want to get too much into it, because even though I do get political, this isn't a political show. But yeah, you're right. There was a reason that he said the tweet, and it was about this policy. And now we're talking about Gary Lineker's tweet. Honestly, it just amazes me. The guy's, a Walker's Crisps ambassador who stopped playing football, 30 odd years ago. And all the focus is on him. It's so strange. Let us know what you make of it. Ben W says Jay hates the Tories. You're not wrong. David Aaron, Kay Buckley says, morning. Mardragon says, sounds like the most ruling parties of the history of humans. There's some people pointing out other people that have been on BBC I won't get into. David Harrington says, Match of the Day would be more entertaining with Boris as presenter. Surely not Boris Johnson. This is the man who didn't know who Jeff Hurst was. I like to see him doing, football analysis. Can you imagine that? Boris Johnson. Make sure you're hitting the like button, please. We've got almost 1,000 people watching, not even 100 likes. Let's get to 300 likes. Come on, people. Hit that like button. Smash a like, as they say. You might not like what's going on, but you can like the video. Mardragon7 says, Joe Smith, Jay Motti and Gary Lineker for the Southampton watch-along. That'd be interesting. So Jimmy says, morning... he says, no, he doesn't. I'm making things up. He says, cancel culture. Yeah, I'm just trying to go through some of the... Jamie White, right? This is good, this. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just comical. Jay, have you seen the Matt Le Tissier tweet? Matt Le Tissier video responding to it. Unfortunately, I saw it on Twitter. It's just a bit bizarre, innit? And he makes this comparison. He says, when me and Phil Thompson was sacked from Sky Sports, no one quit on our behalf. There was no solidarity then. I wonder why. Yeah, because that's the same thing, isn't it? Ed says, get Glenn Hoddle in. Parky, this is a really good point. Parky 1712. Gary Lineker himself has spoken about the Qatar issues, and he's put in capitals, and he's right to put in capitals, on the BBC, and still carried on presenting. If you watch the World Cup opening ceremony on the BBC, I don't think you got the opening ceremony, you got Gary Lineker, Alex Scott and a few others talking about Qatar's human rights record. Now, I don't mind that. I think people say, well, why, you wouldn't do that if it was a different country. If it was in America, you're going to call out American human rights record. Call them all out, I say. I've got no qualms about calling out America's record and anything. But I don't mind that. If you're there in the country and the world, the eyes of the world in the country, you say, look, there has been questions about the human rights here, the workers' rights and what's going on with the LGBTQ community rights and all that sort of stuff. I don't have a problem with that. But if he's allowed to do that on the BBC, why can't he call out his own government on his own Twitter? Why can he call out the Qatari government on the BBC whilst reporting in Qatar on football, yet he can't talk on his own Twitter about something he doesn't like or something he wants to mention. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Hit that like button. We're almost at 1,000 people watching. Alex Bailey says, Jay, you still sound rough AF, which we know what that means. You need to go home and rest. You and Steve need to learn when you're ill, sit at home and rest. Thanks for that, Alex. But unfortunately, my house is full of kids. No, I'm only joking. I've not come out. I'm not come to get away from my children. I'm on a short day today, you'll be pleased to know. Me and producer Alexi are on today, and we're doing a short shift. Going to do a members video and after that, and then we're going to go home. Fergal McLennan says, just because it's a lot of drab news at the minute, here's my favourite joke. Why did the washing machine laugh? It was taking the pee out of the knickers. Very good. Yeah. Hit the like button. Let's get to 300 likes. Listen, I've spoken about Gary Lineker. I've spoken about the BBC. Spoken about Match of the Day. It's a shame he couldn't boycott Match of the Day during the Ralph Rangnick era, isn't it? Hey, and I love that. Do you know what I mean? And we're not going to show you these 6 straight defeats. Fine, whatever. Also, United aren't even on Match of the Day tonight anyway. So I only really watch Match of the Day if United are on and we win. So I wouldn't have been watching it tonight either way. Hit the like button. Come on, let's get to 300 likes, people. We have got some transfer news as well. Because it's not just all about Gary Lineker and what's going on there. If I can find it. There's been a transfer story. Well, there's a couple of things, actually. There's a tweet by Sky Sports Premier League. Manchester United, and we knew this anyway, but it just sort of highlights the job Eric Ten Hag's doing. Most wins in the top 5, teams in the top 5 European leagues this season. The most wins in joint second, actually, I don't know why I need to count that, but they're all the same. Joint second, you've got Barcelona, City, Napoli, PSG, and Real Madrid. They've won 27 games. Top, with 31, is Manchester United Football Club. So that's the real quiz, isn't it? Doesn't matter whether we win anything or not. We've won the most games out of everyone else in Europe's top 5 leagues. Does show, though, doesn't it, that Eric Ten Hag is doing a fantastic job. You know my thoughts on Eric Ten Hag. I spoke about it yesterday, about how he's got this trait of bouncing back. Hopefully we can do it against Southampton tomorrow afternoon. Could be a little bit of a tricky one now. You can't just say, oh, it'll be easy. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let me just find this. I had a transfer story and I can't find it now, which is really out. There we go. I think that's it. Yeah. Denzel Dumfries. This is the kid in it who we've been linked with for quite some time. I think this was was it the summer, wasn't it? If we're being brutally honest, it was the summer where we were first linked with him. This is now, he's at Inter, 26 years old, decent right back. I have my reservations, I'm not going to lie. But this is in the Evening News, and this has come from Gazzetta dello Sport. And it says, Italian publication, the Gazzetta dello Sport, suggests United might be edging closer to his signature already, with a potential swap deal in the offing. Inter are understood to be interested in bringing Diogo Dalot to the San Siro. He's been at San Siro before, only for AC, but Inter wants him. Dumfries, he's a Dutch international, he's a very good player. I don't know, right? Get involved in the comments in the chat. Is he a big improvement on what we've got, Dumfries? Do you think this is a step forward? Is he better than Wan-Bissaka or Dalot? Let me know what you think. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I always worry, with defenders, that I think we underestimate how tough the Premier League is. I really do. And I think if you've got someone like Dalot, or especially Wan-Bissaka, who's shown he can do it in the Premier League over a number of seasons. I know he's had some bad spells. Is he worse, a lot worse than Denzel Dumfries? Let me know what you think. What do you think? Malp says, I'd like Frimpong at United, to be honest. This is a kid from Bayer Leverkusen, isn't it? Jeremy Frimpong. Box says Dumfries is average. Fatty says, I think this is not me calling him Fatty, by the way, that's his name. Says, no, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is better. Box says, bring in Hakimi. Can we get him? I'd have him. Kay Buckley says he's shot, but he's not as shot as Dalot. Hit the like button. Come on, people. Smash a like. Let's get to, we've got what? We're on 210 likes. Let's get to 250. Manchester Maverick says, working on a Saturday, Jay. Fun never ends. Glenn F says great bit of stats there, talking about the amount of games we've won. It was good to see him in the chat. Thomas Dickinson says, hope you're feeling better. It was like listening to Bob Fleming on Motty and Scotty. Yeah, go and check out Scotty and Motty if you've not done so already. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. We've got 216 likes. I can live with that. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Match of the Day. We'll see what happens with the talking of the Premier League reviewing their relationship with the BBC if it's, you know, having a political influence and stuff like that. I think it was it. Let me have a look. I've got a tweet here before I wrap up. If I can find it. Yep. Sorry, I did have it. So Henry Winters tweeted that the Premier League players definitely won't be doing Match of the Day interviews, so we know that one. And there's also the suggestions that the Premier League will have to consider the BBC's position as a credible broadcast partner, because the product they're offering may not satisfy the contracts. That's from a journalist, I think that's from. Is it Kevin Palmer or someone from Twitter? So yeah, it's a bit of a shambles, a bit of a mess, and it's an unavoidable mess. Oh, sorry, it's an avoidable mess. And I don't mean Gary Lineker didn't need to tweet what he did. I think they could have just left him to it. I don't think it's that deep, to be honest with you. That's my take. Listen, if you're not doing, check out the members section. We've got extra content. Do you know what? We're on 261 likes. Let's get to 300. Hit that like button. Come on. Get to 300 likes just before we wrap up. Let's do this. Colin Coupelditch says, nice one, Jay. Who's on the watch-along tomorrow? All I know on the watch-along is it's Joe Smith, Al, yeah, and some others. So I don't know who's on with him. No doubt he'll have his little firm with him. I'll be back myself for my next watch along. Is it Thursday? It's Real Betis, isn't it? Away, and I'm not going. I mean, I don't really do many aways anymore. I did Barca, but yeah, I'll be here in the studio, so I'm looking forward to that one. David Harrington says, I don't mind what Lineker said. He's just boring as F. Listen, you know what? That's all right. You know what? If you don't like him as a presenter or you don't rate him, I get that. That's fine. You know, he's not everyone's cup of tea. I just don't think the kid should be taken off. They say the kid, he's about 60. I don't think he should be taken off the programme for what he's tweeted. I just don't. Glenn F says, Jay's teetotal, or was it a joke? Well, I am teetotal, yep. LB said, Salford lad in Melbourne. Oh, mate, you've downgraded there, haven't you? Why don't you leave Salford to go to Melbourne? I've been to Melbourne. I live in Salford, and trust me, there's no comparison. Thanks for getting in the chat. It's great to see you. Come on, we're 15 away from 300. Let's do this. Let's keep going. Andy Moore says, super Saturday with Jay. Happy says, cheers, Jay. Have a great weekend. What? Some nonsense here as well. Pecky says, should have cancelled Match of the Day last weekend. Yeah, they should have done, shouldn't they? Should have cancelled Match of the Day. Is that the one on the Sunday, Match of the Day too? That would be, yeah, Boot Enjoyer says, Tory sick. Come on, we're 10 away from 300. We're going to do this. Darren Cox says, give a like if your Glazer's out. That's a great point. If your Glazer's out, yeah, don't worry about who's coming in. Like I said, let's just enjoy the moment of Glazer's out. If your Glazer's out, hit that like button. Fatty says, lol, no comparison to living in Salford. We've done it. We've got to 300 likes. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. Thanks to everyone who watched. Thanks to everyone who hit the like. Don't forget as well, we've got extra content on the members section. We're going to be doing a video there shortly. If you can, check that out. If not, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Go and check out our preview of the Southampton game as well. That's up on the channel. Also, the brew from yesterday with me, Stephen Housen and Ryan Hopper. I've been Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.